All right. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm Lisa Tomei Zonnefeld. I'm a publisher with Prolific Pulse Press, LLC. However, I did not publish this particular book of Sarfraz's, although he has been published in some of my anthologies. Welcome, Sarfraz Ahmed, and it is so wonderful to see you and all your wonderful fans that have come to help celebrate this beautiful book, The Ramblings of a Romantic Poet. Could not be happier for you. I love your poetry. I love you. I've known you forever, and I consider you like my brother. And so welcome so much. Sarfraz, it's so great to see you. Congratulations. And welcome to everyone that's here. I like to go do something a little bit different than what I usually do with a book launch. I'm going to go around the room and I would like to ask each person to tell me one little thing, maybe tell me your name and maybe one little thing that you know about Sarfraz, and you could even tell a secret if you want to. And let's start with Elliot.
Elliot, you're on mute.
My name's Elliot. I'm Rubin, and the thing about Sarfraz is people may not know this, but he happens to have a very good sense of humor. He hides it well.
That's true. Thank you, Elliot. Karuna. I think we lost Karuna. Okay, Ranjit.
Yes, hello, friends. I've known Sarfraz since I was 11, and I absolutely funny, fantastic friend. The one small story I'll share is one of my most favorite subjects, difficult subjects, was maths. But the year I spent with Sarfraz, the comedy and the humor, as a result of that fantastic time we spent together, I got actually the highest mark ever. And it just shows you that when you've got your, great spirit and great friendship, you can, have a great experience in life. Thank you.
Thank you. Brandi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Brandi Begin. Probably my favorite thing about Sarfraz is just how uplifting he is. Being in poetry critique groups with him, he has always got a kind word to say. He's nothing but encouraging towards myself, my work, and pushes me towards wanting to get my own book out there someday. So he's just such an incredible support, and I'm lucky to know him in my poetry community.
Thank you. Karuna.
Yes, sorry about that earlier. So yes, Sarfraz, I've known Sarfraz through my sister, Pratibha here. And I think I find his poems quite interesting because he has a little gift that I'm not able to do, and the way that he weaves stories together. I think also Sarfraz was the one who brought me to Elliot's workshop, which was great. And yeah, I guess I don't know about something that maybe somebody else doesn't know, but I mean, we've had coffee together. I just say, yeah, I think Sarfraz is very interesting with his ability to be on social media and doing what he does and where he's got to, with and Tarpley and all of that network that's happened since, and being a moderator on all these Facebooks. So I think that's something really amazing.
Thank you. Pratibha.
Hi, everyone. So I've known Sarfraz for a while, actually, before we even had poetry in our lives. So I've known him for over 10 years because of work. When I first met Sarfraz, this is really funny, he came into the marketing room and this guy just came in and full of life and just smiles. And he just was the life of the party. It's like he just came into a party, into the room. But I didn't know who he was. I thought, who is this? And then everyone knew Sarfraz in the room, but I was new, so I didn't know him. And then I got to know him over time, and we became really good friends. But the funny thing is that you may not all know is that we didn't know that we wrote until 2020, before lockdown hit. And that's the thing, that we known each other for so long, but we never ever said that we wrote poetry. I never considered myself a poet, and I hadn't written for a long time. I had old stuff, and Sarfraz, he never revealed that he was writing in secret, because obviously it's a private thing. So it was a real shock, and it was a real nice surprise. And then we had so much to talk about, and then it's just been, since then it's just taken off. So that's our little thing for a long time now.
Thank you, Pratibha. That's wonderful. Is it is or Izzy? I'm not sure.
It could be
Are you
Isaac.
there?
It could be Isaac. I don't know.
Isaac or
It could be Iz.
yeah.
It
Oh, there you
says
go.
Isaac. It says yes. It's in the chat. I don't know whether
Okay.
to speak.
Okay. Did you want to say something, Isaac?
Do you want to say something fantastic about me? Or maybe not so fantastic. Oh, he says he
Oh,
doesn't-
don't have a microphone.
have a mic.
Okay, no problem. You can always write it in the chat.
Yeah.
Sabina?
Sabina, I think Sabina's my sister. So
Okay.
I don't know if she's got a
Well,
microphone. Sabina,
Oh
have you got a
boy, she knows some secrets, I bet.
you know where the bodies are buried. She says hi everyone.
Hi, everyone. Okay.
Sabina, do you want to put anything in chat about me and I'll read it out? I think Lisa's got chat as well.
Yes.
It was interesting about Sabina actually. Yesterday was the first time that my family actually went to one of my events.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I always say with poetry, you get poetry people and non-poetry people. The non-poetry people are those that eyes glaze over when you start talking about poetry, and you kind of lose them and you know that they're not listening. And the poetry people are absolutely absorbed by your work and really engage with you and so on. My sister Sabina, actually, I mean, I will tell her a very interesting story. She designs, at the beginning, she designed all my covers on my
Oh,
books, apart from she's but a wonderful writer, a terrific storyteller. Thank you, Sabina. She did the covers for Stab the Pomegranate, which is there, and she also did the cover for Two Hearts as well, and the Gift of Poetry. So she did about 3 covers. She did that
lovely.
one. So she is an amazing
Quite
artist.
talented. Quite
Yeah,
talented.
she did an amazing. She did all the artwork and so on. And the last one was the Gift of Poetry. So she did I think those are her hands in
Nice.
in actual sculpture, because she sculptured the hands. Then she put the
Wonderful.
little and then I think she photoshopped the whole lot and put it
Sweet.
on there. So they are very special and very unique. So yeah, I'm very grateful for her contribution of her artwork all the way throughout. So thank you very much.
Who did the cover for the Ramblings of Romantic Poet?
Right. So basically that was going to be another Sabina production, but I started talking to Eureka, and this is the thing, when you write poetry, you can write poetry, but to get your poetry published, you need to have that relationship with your publisher. Sometimes it works and sometimes it just does not work. And this time I find with Eureka and McKinley Publishing Hub, it really works. I mean, I just had to talk to Eureka a few times, send her a couple of images, and she nailed it in one. She got it in one, and that is the cover that she got.
Wow.
And this is even wonderful. She even went in the back of the book, but in the back of the cover, she found some images of me. She actually found a picture of me standing. That's in St. Peter's Square in Rome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So she went over and beyond,
Yeah,
because
but here,
yeah, that's it. That's the image there. So yeah, Eureka nailed it in one. She literally did it in one take, and it was a hit. I showed even obviously Annette, because I like to always like Annette is a great sounding board, and she kept saying absolutely amazing. That's it, it's done. So Eureka, if you're listening out there, thank you.
Yeah, Sarika's been great to work with, as well as getting ready for this book launch and providing materials for me to use for promos and stuff.
She's been absolutely fantastic. And the thing is, you've got, you know, some publishers who just publish a book and put it on Amazon and that's it. And the relationship sort of ends. But what you've got with, say, yourself, obviously the prolific press, and other publishers like McKinley, they go over and beyond. They will do the, you know, in fact, when the book was put on Amazon, I got a set of images. Bang, there were like 10 images that were fantastic to use for this book. And she kept coming back to me. She goes, "Oh, I've read some of your book," and she kept talking about it. You know, she goes, "Oh my God," she goes, "Oh, this poem is that poem and that poem," and that was good. And that's when I knew there was something special about the book. I knew there was something. I knew there was something different, and I knew that it was very, very, very special. And she saw that as well.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Sarfraz, for your shout out for Prolific Pulse. Appreciate that so much. I do see that this is your 6th book, but you've been in several anthologies. I mean, you've been published all over the place.
I mean, to be honest, I mean, it was really difficult. I think you highlighted some typos at the back of the book where, because what I did, I actually did a kind of a collection of every single anthology and other publications that I've been in, and they're on the back of the book. Yeah. So it's a comprehensive list. And to be honest, I kept missing things out. There was stuff that I was in that I didn't even know I was in, and I had to put all those in. So, you know, from all the major anthologies, from obviously yourself, through the ones through obviously McKinley have done that, Fine Lines, Open Door. I think I've been consistent in Open Doors getting published, and it's just crazy from all around the world globally. I mean, there's some you know, in South Asia, in India, they contacted me. I've written forwards for books, and I've got quite a good at writing back blurbs, back blurbs as you call it. And editing a book as well. So I think when the Passion of Poetry anthology came out, which was earlier this year, I was very much involved in that. But Elliot, this was the biggest book they've ever seen in your life. Yes. Over 300 poems. It was massive. It was huge. Yes. And I was heavily involved in that as well. So yeah, I mean, to be honest, in the last 3 years, it's absolutely taken off. I mean, it has literally just been 3 years since I got my first book published. This has only been 3 years. I have been writing for a hell of a long time, but it's just in the last 3 years that I feel that the stuff I'm writing is what people want to read, if you know what I mean. And, you know, and the nice thing about the critique group with Elliot and Brandi and everyone else it's a very good sounding board. So I actually am now bringing some of my early poems that I wrote 20 years ago, and I think Brandi commented the romantic ones. They're the romantic ones that Sarfraz brings, and actually it's and to be honest, they've never been published. They're the ones I used to write in secret. They were the ones that were hidden. And what I'd love to do is to publish a book of those early poems one day.
Nice.
You know, nice. And I think I've nearly got enough for one book, which is the help from the critique group. The best editors that you could find in that critique group, honestly, you give them a poem, honestly, you give Bill, Elliot a poem, and they will, in 2 minutes, they will know exactly what goes in and what should not go in, and they trim it down. It's like, you know, it's like someone on a diet, you know, so they trim it down to a size, you know, a size 8 or something, you know, so a big poem goes, drinks. So brilliant, thank you.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, critique groups are the best. And, you know, not everyone can, you know, hire somebody that completely edit a book. You can be very expensive in that. And I think I'm particularly biased that I think critique groups are better than that, because you get so many different points of view, so many areas of expertise. And to be in anything that involves Elliot, I think is very positive, because his work is amazing. And he's laughing at me, but you know it's true, Elliot. You're really a great poet,
Thank you.
and I appreciate how you can really make things so concise and so clear without, you know, having to go through, weed it all out. So I appreciate that. I'm kind of tend to be a short poem fan, so I appreciate that.
I've evolved.
You've evolved. We all have. We all have. If we're
I think
going
I
to
brought
grow,
Elliot, I think I brought your first book with the
A lot of good,
flowers.
there's a lot of good poems in that one.
I know. Well, I've got that, and then I've got I think The Ramblings of an Old Man, which is probably
That was the second book.
yeah, it's a nod to this. I mean, that's maybe where I got the title from, because the romantic poet is a coin. Actually, in fact, it was Annette who coined the term the romantic poet when she started reading my poems, and it kind of stuck with that. And I says, well, I'm going to go with that because, to be honest, but this book is very different, because one of the things that this book does, which the other books don't really do, is the style, and it's actually a lot more influenced by the US writers, very, very much so. I think it was, you know, my gratitude to this group that I got to know Charles Bukowski, who in the UK, I'll be honest with you, he's not one of the, it's not someone that you would learn about in school, you know, unfortunately.
that's kept secret.
Yeah, but I mean, it was Charles Bukowski and Frank O'Hara and a lot of these US writers that really influenced this book. And also some of the poems, I mean, you guys will recognize it from the critique group, were actually Stanley Kubrick's photos.
Yeah.
So what Elliot did is actually bring some of Stanley Kubrick's black and white photos from New York, images that he had, fantastic photos, and we used those as picture prompts, and that actually became some of, in fact, a lot of the best work is in there based on those pictures, which I will
Nice.
read some of those as well. So, but the style is very, very different.
Now, I met you, Sarfraz, way back when I first started doing a podcast before I decided to do the publishing, and you had 84 Pens had come out.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you
It
started
just,
that, and
yeah.
that began our relationship of get Sarfraz on. So it's been a pleasure to know you.
I think it
feels
was
like I've
Annette,
known you
actually.
my
I think
life.
she,
Yes.
yeah, I think what happened, it was really, I mean, I've had two great mentors in my life. And I'm happy to say, obviously, I think Elliot's an amazing person to just have around, but also some of the, you know, his knowledge and also respect, because he's actually done some creative writing classes and knows certain ways to formulate and put together a poem, which I've never been to a creative writing class in my life at all. I'd love to go one day, but I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know if I need to go. But the other person is obviously Annette Tarpley, who to be honest, we all kind of met at the same time. We got published at the same time, but we met in COVID. It was a COVID situation. She was alone, isolated in a big house. Same, I was isolated in a big house in different parts of the world. We started talking and started, you know, she never met me, and then she did meet me, and we started to talk about poetry, and she actually had the book, the first edition, which had no picture of me in there, no biography. It was the opposite of what I'm like now. So my picture's plastered everywhere, and everyone knows who I am. But at that time, no one knew who I was, and she fell in love with those poems. And as she said to me, in fact, in our first conversation, she said, should we write a book together? Now, who does that? And that actually became true, which was the Two Hearts project. And I was reading some of those poems, and I look back and I think some of those poems are probably some of the best that I wrote for that time. And I call it the romantic period, because it was Annette's a romanticism, a romantic person. Yeah,
it's a great book. Yeah, and y'all did do a wonderful pairing with that book. That's great.
It's like, oh my God, it's like two books in one. It's a huge book.
It is.
I mean, Annette's book. So, I mean, I was reading some of Annette's poems, but her classic poems are in there. The ones that she recites a lot, they're in there.
Right.
Brilliant.
brilliant indeed. Well, let's bring on Brandi. She's going to read some poetry of hers and yours. Brandi, I don't see you at the top, so pop on in.
Yes, I am here.
All right. Well, welcome, Brandi, and then let's get started. What you got for
Absolutely.
us?
All right. So I would like to start with one of Sarfraz's that jumped out at me immediately. I do just want to congratulate Sarfraz again before I begin. This is an absolutely stunning book. I know when I had gotten it in the mail, I got it midweek and I did not want to start it immediately. I wanted to give myself until the weekend so I could actually sit and process and enjoy it. And I'm so glad that I did just that. The thing I love about Sarfraz, especially being in critique with him, is that he is such a versatile writer. Obviously, this is titled The Ramblings of a Romantic Poet, but truly you could give him any topic and he would do a fabulous, fabulous job with it. The first one that I wanted to read from Ramblings of a Romantic Poet is on page 22, and that is titled As I Fell Apart. You simply stood there and smiled as I fell apart, crumbled and broke, cracked porcelain. Something once considered beautiful, a priceless antique, had become broken, shattered beyond repair. By words spoken so cruel that they mystify fired missiles, heat-seeking and cruel. You used your weapons to torment and tease, to break my heart, and all you could do was smile as I fell apart.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thanks, Brandi.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Well,
Am I able to read another from his book?
absolutely.
Excellent. This next one also hit me initially, but then as I went back through and read it the second time, I think the two things that, or the thing that stood out to me about these two particular poems is that even though this is, Ramblings of a Romantic Poet, I feel that these two poems can be related to maybe not even just a romantic relationship, but with friends, with family members, just the aura of just humans existing together in the same space. So the next one that I really wanted to read today can be found on page 93. And that is titled The Joke Isn't Funny Anymore. A palpitation, the choking kind, a trigger in my mind that flows through my laughter lines. For there is no smile, as the joke simply isn't funny anymore. You are testing my resilience with toxic words that I deplore. Your words pull me this way and that, render my heart broken with a notion, with a trigger, a loaded gun. As you shoot your bullets, I watch you revel in the fun.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandi. Beautiful. You read beautifully.
Thank you so much. So
It's really interesting having someone to read your poems, because when you write, it's only when somebody acknowledges and says, oh, that poem is good or I like it, that you actually start thinking, oh, there's something to that poem. Because I always write with inspiration, and with the two poems that you wrote and that one, that is actually a situation that occurred, and I wrote that to kind of calm my mindset and calm my anger and the situation.
Yeah, no, and I think those two stood out to me so deeply. If you have been someone that has been in critique with me, you know that a lot of the poetry that I write is specifically about relationships with others that tend to be on the trickier side. So any of those poems that pull at your heartstrings emotionally, or tap into those more vulnerable feelings. So right when I read through the book the first time, As I Fell Apart jumped right out at me. And then same with the second one. But then once I read through the second time, I really knew that one hit me a little bit deeper. So But the book is beautiful. I'm honored to be on here as a special guest and to be able to read those aloud to everybody.
Yeah,
So
and
this
and
opportunity.
also as my journey, as I go through my journey of poetry, I always like to give acknowledgements to the people that have been part of the journey. And so it was, I remember telling the group that I'm going to put everyone as an acknowledgement, and obviously Brandi, and then Bill, and obviously Elliot's in the, this book is dedicated to him, but I put everyone in there because they've been part of this journey. Now, if I was to write another book, I don't know who's going to be in there because the journey might go on to another different level. But Brandi, I mean, I just can't wait for your book because I actually love Brandi's poetry. I think there's something quite unique and vulnerable there that but I'm excited. I want the collection. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much for reading that. Thank you.
Thank you for your encouragement. And it's an honor to, like I said, it's an honor to have been invited to this and to be able to speak. So thank you so much for all of your support. And you will absolutely own a copy of my book someday.
Brandi, are you in the process of publishing a book?
So I would like to say yes. I have a title, I have a vision. I have pretty much, I'd say 95% of it typed. I have it into sections. I have had this vision for a very long time. I'm an elementary school teacher, so I've been very hectic and busy lately, but now that it's summertime, I would love to start the publishing process of it. I've got a lot of it done. All of it has been edited in critique groups. So I am looking to take that next step eventually. So
Look forward to it.
absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for reading. Will you be reading any of your poems?
If I would be able to,
I would love it.
absolutely. I don't want to overshadow Sarfraz, but I have one that I could definitely share.
Okay,
This
please
is
do.
one of my more sentimental ones. I wrote this, so just a little bit about me. I've only been writing poetry for just over a year now. So this is one that I had written probably towards the beginning of my writing journey, and over time it has kind of evolved. It is a little bit more personal to me because a lot of the aspects in it are kind of as if it's a fantasy of my experiences in childhood and going into adulthood. So I will be sharing Childhood Dragons. Grew up as a girl who feared many burdens. As a young lady cried, hid behind curtains. Father frustrated, mother in bed. Grandmother's medical sentence will leave her dead. A teenage girl trapped, demons' web spun. Each day creeps by, one by one. When she turns 18, plans are to run. She will not look back, past becoming undone. So many moments caused so much pain. Before she flees, one last task on brain. As the sword thrusts forward, her beasts are slain. Head held high, her future begins. Not many slay their childhood dragons.
Brilliant.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Everyone.
Powerful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Elliot,
Okay.
you've
Thank
got
you.
the stage.
All I could say is when the computer screen goes on and Sarfraz comes on, the clouds disappear, the sun shines, a gentle breeze goes through my house. It's a pleasure, absolutely a pleasure every time I'm on the Zoom with him. And I'm glad he's in England and I'm here because otherwise I would get nothing done. So, because I can kibitz with the best of them forever. And I think he's a kibitzer too. Anyway, I enjoy his poetry, and Brandi is an amazing poet. I love her stuff. And I can't wait for her to put a book out. I want to read from his new book, a poem called As I Fell Apart on page 22, if my eyes don't get blurry. You simply stood there and smiled as I fell apart, crumbled and broke, cracked porcelain. Something once considered beautiful, a priceless antique, had become broken, shattered beyond repair. by words spoken so cruel that they mystify fired missiles, heat-seeking and cruel. You use your weapons to torment and tease, to break my heart, and all you could do was smile as I fell apart. It's a wonderful piece. And there's another one I liked on page 27 called Please Forgive Me. Please forgive me if my gaze penetrated too deep, if it hit you hard, broke down walls, tore you apart. Please forgive me if your smile captivated, took hold, the weight of which took me to places I could not forget, 1,000 sunsets full of a lifetime of regrets. Please forgive me if your eyes pulled me in, if I crept under your skin, for you reminded me of someone that I used to know, someone that I used to love a long time ago. Please forgive me as I'm trying to let go. Really fabulous piece. Thank you. And I have one I could read if we have the time. This is from my book,
Yeah.
Portland Cafe Girl. And this is on page 21. This was about when I was 17, a summer romance. During Christmas week, she came to visit. She was also friends with my sister. And we had dated for a while. It's called I Wait for Her to Awake. Another day with my guest. I only have 3. Then she'll be gone, back to the lover she lied to be with me. I am jealous of him. She is so beautiful, yet shallow. How can I think of permanence? A mountain is permanent, immovable. A bee is flighty, dashes from one pretty flower to the next, then home to the hive. I am neither a pretty flower nor a hive. I am a mere Christmas week romp to be stung at night.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elliot. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
I saw someone, I think it was Pratibha, that
Yeah,
said
Pratibha
she would
wants to
like to
read.
read a poem.
Yeah, I don't mind if there is time. I
Go
thought
right ahead.
save Sarfraz from reading loads of poetry from his own book. Yeah, so anyway, I just looked at this really short one called Untangled. And I thought I'll do that one because it kind of, yeah, it's kind of got me.
Pratibha,
Right.
what page is it?
Oh, it's page
Should we go-
54.
Thank you.
Yeah, untangle. Untangle the tangle, limb by limb. Pull me out from under the skin. Cut the membrane. Let the blood flow. I've carried you for long enough. Now it's time to let you go. I like it. It's quite cool.
That's a very strong poem. So few
I
words with so
love-
much power.
A lot of the poetry, certainly in this book, is my venture into minimalism. And Elliot will know because I have I think it was Donna McCormack, who's like probably the queen of minimalistic poetry, and she kind of really inspired me to. And it's the hardest thing to actually write poetry that's a shorter piece, because you have to really think of every line, every word, and I think that's where some of this poetry really, really came into its fore in this book. So thank you for reading that, Pratibha. Thank you.
And now it's time for our guest of honor, Sarfraz.
Thank you guys, thank you. Well, you know, actually, someone actually asked me a question, which was, how long does it take you to write a book? And before this book, I actually didn't really quite know. I was a bit oblivious to the whole process, but I can tell you now, it takes about a year, to be honest. You know, so to write the poetry that goes into the book and to choose which pieces actually will make the book, and then to put the book together, and to proof it and all the parts that go to it. So there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and being a bit of a perfectionist, you know, that's where you know, you have sleepless nights when you think, oh God, there's a typo here and there's a word missing or whatever. So it takes about a year. So, you know, and I've said to myself, you know, to stop the anxiety, to get it a bit more into control, I'm going to start the process earlier as well. So The Ramblings of the Romantic Poet, You can see the influences from obviously the US poets that are there. And I'm going to read one that I read out a couple of weeks ago in Instagram Live. Myself, Elliot and Bill went on Instagram Live. And it was the most fun I think we've had for ages. We had a laugh. And I think, Brandi, we need you in to pull out to pull in the younger viewers. But on a serious note, we could definitely do it again. And I read out Stars. Stars, when I read Charles Bukowski, when I was reading Charles Bukowski, but you know, he wrote a very famous poem called Bluebird, and this is kind of my take on that, called Stars. And I think you guys heard it yesterday, Karuna and Pratibha. Stars. Over the years, I've collected stars from the sky, caged them in my ribs, left them to dry. In the darkness of night, I let them out one by one. I see the moon and the sun. The planets orbit and propel me, light up my room, flicker majestically. In the darkness of night, I rip them out of my chest. I close my eyes. I'm taken to far off places across galaxies, so to the far beyond. I will show the stars to the beautiful and divine. Let them sparkle and shine. I will show the stars to the one that will one day be mine. Thank you. And that's on page 36. I should have said that at the beginning. Thank you. And that's my kind of take on the bluebird caged in the ribs of Charles Bukowski. But he was feeding it alcohol and smoke from his cigarettes and all sorts. But that's Bukowski all over again. He didn't treat that bluebird very well. But I've got stars in my ribcage. I want to read, because Ranjit's here. This is a poem based on my school friend. If I can find it. I think it's here, actually. It's called My School Friend. But I want to read that because there was a time, I'll tell you the little story behind it, that basically in lockdown, we were all very isolated. And then Ranjit actually contacted me and said, I'm going for walks early in the morning. And I said, look, I'm joining you. I'm going to join you. I'm going to go for a walk as well. And that's where I met my school friend. Let's have a look at what page it is. I've actually gone to the beginning now to actually find it as well. Here we go. It's on page 35. I've got it. Okay. Okay, it's called My School Friend. It became some kind of tradition, meeting my school friend at the bridge at about 6:15. A friend I had known since we were both 11 or thereabouts, on and off through the years, as most friends do. We walked around industrial estates, past old hospital buildings where my friend was born. We connected to a childhood long forgotten, memories tattered, scattered and torn. As we told and retold stories, reminisced, weaved a quilt, neatly woven, pieces of nostalgia, a rich tapestry fabricated with every word that was ever said, a fine quilt to wrap our bodies when we were both well and truly dead. From cold, dark winter nights to the summer's whimsical bliss, those days when I walked with my friend, our relationship, our conversation, I will always miss. Thank you. And that's my school friend. And Ranjit, you can, well, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And it's interesting, from school, Ranjit's the only friend that we've kept in touch with each other. So that's my school friend. Hello, yeah, the whole family's there. Hiya. The whole family's there. Thank you. And that's Seb. Hello. Okay, so we've got Richard. Hi, Richard. Thank you for joining us. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to read a poem that I was fortunate to get into one of your anthologies, Lisa. And this is called it's the Caregivers anthology, and I submitted 3 poems, and I put all 3 in here because it all meant something to me. And I'm going to read Lean on Me on page 90 of the book. I wish I was strong enough to heal the pain inflicted again and again. Release the tubes that connect the brain, the oxygen cylinder that makes your lungs flare up and let go. I wish I could carry you to wherever you need to go. So hold on to me, I'll carry the weight upon my shoulder, upon my spine. Put your body next to mine. Lean on me and I will wrap my rings around you. I'll carry the weight upon my shoulder, the way a mother holds her young. Lean on me and I promise to be strong. Thank you. And that's in the Caregivers anthology, and to be honest, one of my favorite poems as well. This one is a poem I read out again to a fantastic audience yesterday, and it's called "I Know It's You." I know it's you that puts a blanket upon me, keeps me warm, removes my glasses when I sleep. I know it's your breath upon my neck and my shoulders, keeps me warm when nights turn colder. I know it is you that I think of when I am alone. I know that it is you that reminds me of home. And sorry, that's on page 131. I've done it the wrong way around. Thank you. Okay, so also one of the things I will read out is a poem that actually got published in Fine Lines, and it got published in Fine Lines, and David actually contacted me, and then also I got lots of messages from Fine Line readers from America. Loads of US people contacted me. It was brilliant. Loads of nice messages because they love the poem In My Heyday, which is on page 137. And this, this is an old poem. I can't even remember when I wrote it. But I felt I had to get it published and I had to put it in a book because I was getting so much, it was attracting so much attention that I thought In My Heyday, it has to be in there. So it's on page 137 towards the end of the book. In my heyday, I was the main attraction. Just one look from me would give many much satisfaction. With my name up in lights glittering like a beam, I was every woman's ideal. I was every woman's dream. Turning heads wherever I would go, if you had seen me then, you would know. By the end of every night, my good looks and enigmatic charm would ensure I would have women hanging off my every word and my arms. I was the main attraction, a cross-country train with energy flowing through my veins. Ready to take anything that came along. I was full of mind, body and spirit. I was strong. I wish those days had lasted forever, that they had never come to an end. I miss those good old days, and I can no longer pretend. For I remember in fondness those days when I had my youthful good looks, and I was not so old and grey. But that was a lifetime ago, back in my heyday. Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's really weird, isn't it? So I wrote that poem, and I'll tell you what, I got no clue when I wrote it. I can't even remember. I think I remember, I liked the line In My Heyday. I think I remember doing that, and it was a play on words. And then I had the privilege to actually put it in there. I want to read actually a poem, if I can, that's been inspired by one of the poems by Stanley Kubrick, if I can say that. And you guys will definitely recognize this. I'm going to pick one. There's one that Elliot helped me with without even knowing it, called The Face of My Mother. Let me see if I can find that one, and if not, I've got Walking Awkwardly. So I will read The Face of My Mother. Oh, I've got it here, page 25. 25, I was nearly there. Page 25, The Face of My Mother. I'm going to tell you the story of this poem. We had a fantastic time in our critique group. Elliot brought some black and white photos that were Stanley Kubrick's. He's the photographer before he got into filmmaking. Yep. And these black and white photos were all about New York, and this book is so influenced by the US. It's incredible. It's, you know, I think I had it running through my veins, and I'm going to read one about New York in a bit as well. But this, so there was a picture of a scene of a young girl surrounded by people circling her, black and white photo. And this is my interpretation of that photo, called The Face of My Mother, on page 25 of The Ramblings of a Romantic Poet. Caught in the midst, in the tornado, bodies moving from left to right, suffocating, circling, an open coffin. The scent of oils, the funeral flowers are so thick they penetrate the walls of my stomach as I spiral and fall. I find myself in the epicenter of it all. As bodies begin to circle the open casket, revealing a corpse held together by makeup so thick it crumbles in the heat, as they all scramble to see her face, the face of my mother. And Elliot actually did, I think you remember, I think Elliot sort of, I think after the critique group, Elliot actually did some work on it. You did some editing, bless you. He kind of said, Sarfraz, take this out. That's a filler word. You don't need that. But honestly, I think it's very touching. It's a very moving piece, and it's a deep piece. So I wanted to read The Face of My Mother on there. Okay. So obviously I want to, as I mentioned, this is or very US influenced poetry, because to be honest, I don't know, Lisa, it was you in an interview or someone asked me in an interview that my poetry is, they asked me the question, are people reading your poetry in the UK or is it the US? You know, where are you more popular? And I said, by the feedback that I get and the support, and I think the people reading my stuff, I would have said the US. I think it's only now, 3-4 years later, that I think people are now becoming a little bit interested in what I've got to say. And a couple of weeks ago, I was actually in a radio interview, and I in my local radio. This is my local radio, and I just told them that, you know, after 3 years of globally being published and being an administrator for the Passion of Poetry and so on and so forth, that I'm actually getting the first time in my local radio that I've got poetry being read out. I'm going to read That New York Kind of Feeling. I've got that New York kind of feeling. It's on page 95, guys. I'm going to start again. Page 95, if you want to follow. And it's got a great picture of the lady herself at the bottom. Okay, right, let's start. I've got that New York kind of feeling, Soho kind of feeling, bright lights, big city kind of feeling, a showstopper kind of feeling, the edge of my seat kind of feeling. When the vibe comes up and takes me, breathes life into me, when you're so far away and your eyes are all I see. The sparkle just like Times Square, neon lights everywhere. When I'm close to you, my heart beats faster. For I've got that New York kind of feeling, Soho kind of feeling, bright lights, big city kind of feeling, a showstopper kind of feeling, the edge of my seat kind of feeling. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
You read it like a New Yorker too. Very quick.
Oh, thank you. Do you know what? I think it was that time that I'm coming to New York. I've promised Elliot that I'm going to come and hang out there because it's a place and it's a country that's inspired me so much. But I think at that time I was really honing into New York. So that's my New York kind of feeling in there as well. Okay. Have we got time for one more, I think, just before we go?
Yes, we do. Yes, we have time.
Yeah.
I did want to note that Richard had put a note in the chat that there's a Soho in both New York City and in London.
Yes, and yes, there is. I love the Soho in London. That's where they have my favorite jazz club, Running Scots. And anyone who knows me will know that I love jazz. And I've actually, a lot of my titles, poetry, come from jazz, famous jazz poems.
Is Soho an acronym for the British version also?
Yeah.
But what does it stand for?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, that's your homework.
I want to find out, Richard. You're too clever.
It's New York, it's south of Houston, you know.
Oh, maybe it's the same. I mean, we just know it as Soho. We've always.
Is there a Houston Street in London?
I don't know. I'm gonna have a look. But
I'm gonna Google it.
It's
Okay.
yeah, Google it. But it's a very interesting part of town. Lots of clubs. The underworld, the kind of the underbelly of London is there. It's a very exciting time. Cabaret bars, drag acts, beautiful jazz as well, and exciting times.
It
Okay.
makes me think of the song Pinball Wizard, because Elton John sings about that.
I think Richard's doing some research as we're finding the last.
I'm trying.
Bless him. Okay, I'm going to end, funny enough, with another Bukowski wonder called The Showgirls of New York.
South of Horton, Horton.
Is it?
Horton, Horton, south of Horton.
South of Horton.
Yeah, that's
Soho.
that's what Google's telling me.
Wow, it must be that. We just know it as Soho. It's on page 18. Is my last book. The other thing I will mention about this book as well, which you've noticed, I think as my books have gone along, I've incorporated a lot of artwork, black and white art, in this, and I think I've become more braver as I've been writing more books and becoming involved in book writing. So I'm going to end with The Showgirls of New York, I think. Okay, because it is a bit late. It's a bit late we can have this kind of poetry, I think, out now. The Showgirls of New York. Too many nights upon the stage, the stench of the alcohol penetrates the layers of makeup, the layers of skin, the mask she wears. All the men stand and stare, wide-eyed, salivating upon the dream as they watch the parade begin, as the peacock's feathers flutter, skin to skin, flesh to flesh. The showgirls in downtown Soho put on a show right night after night, in costumed corseted so tight beneath the smoke. Their legs begin to lift, reveal more of the inner thigh, slightly covered curves, white satin and lace. As the dance begins, you find yourself once again lost in the magic, in the beauty of her face. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or comments that they'd like to make with Sarfraz?
I'd just like to wish him good luck and assure him that Lisa is incredibly helpful even after publication in many ways.
I didn't publish this one, but thank you for the shout out, Rich, because I can always use the press.
I've heard,
Sure,
I mean, there was, because I think it's a small, tightly knit community and we talk. So I've been, so certainly with Lisa, yourself, and talking to Jill, Sharon Kimbleman and people like that. We've had long conversations about the support and that special relationship between a publisher and the poet and the writer, and so they can put their vision and their ideas onto the page and make the book that they want to release. And sometimes, and Pratibha knows this, I think we've had the same publisher where we are constantly battling and fighting, and they won't even talk to us on a telephone. And we were able to publish, but we weren't left fulfilled or satisfied. And and I think that's where that piece of support comes into it. So your publisher is fantastic, and that's one of the reasons why I went back to Eureka and kind of said to her, well, look, I've got this idea, this is where it's going to go, and all I had to say to her was, I want it to look like The Gift of Poetry, my last book, and she got it in one.
Yeah, did a great job. Beautiful book. And if everybody has a copy, hold it up now so we can
let's take a photo,
get a little bit of a shot of that. So if you can, sometimes you might hold it. Okay, thank you. All right. Do want to announce Elliot's got his book coming out next month, Show Me the Banksy. It'll come out toward the end of July. So we'll be having, probably our next book launch will be for Elliot. So we'll be setting it up. I'll let everybody know about that. Thank you all for coming out and celebrating with Sarfraz. It's beautiful to see us. It's really cool because I know at least half of the people in this room, and that makes me feel good. So thank you so much.
Thank
You all
you.
have a
Thank you,
rest
Lisa.
of
Thank
a
you for
blessed Sunday.
Thank you for helping me launch this book. I couldn't think of anyone else that I would even ask, because as I said before, and this is the, you know, God's honest truth, I think Lisa's one of the best launchers of books that you can find. Honestly, she's, you know, this, if this was your main profession to launch books, that's it, you've hit the nail on the head. But thank you for supporting me from the beginning. Lisa was one of the first person that actually interviewed me very earlier on, and we did our first sort of podcast, and in fact, I think when a lot of people Google, they come up with our interview with Stab the Pomegranate.
Yes, I saw that when I was Googling something for you today. It's like,
Stab the
these
Pomegranate.
interviews are coming up. that we did.
Well, the Stab the Pomegranate in America has, they are, you know, I can safely say that people are really, you know, they actually think that was my first book. But that interview that we did, I think has hit so many people have watched it. So thank you for all of that, and thank you for everyone coming to support my book.
Thank you
so
all.
much.
Yes, I guess I'm 84 pins is what I was going to be doing closest to my heart, because that's
Yeah.
the first one we interacted with. So
Yeah, I've got it. I mean, I get asked about it so much. This book here,
mhm.
because I think I think one of the reviews was, I think it caused a stir in the US. I'll never forget that. So that was a proper review for this book, which was, you've caused a stir in the US, and it's Stab the Pomegranate. And I think you know, one day I'd like to revisit it, and maybe when we do I think when we do our Instagram live or something, I want to read more of that book, because I think it's still underrated, and you know, I think there's so much in there. Even when I read it now, I think, oh my God, really, did I write that? Was that me? But thank you very much anyway. Thank you.
Thank you all very much for coming out today. Let's give a round of applause for Sarfraz. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Y'all
you so
have
much.
a wonderful rest of your day.
Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.